Growing up is not all that it's cracked up to be. There's many downfalls to growing up. One of them being is that you and I, as we grow up, we lose our sense of imagination. You know, that childlike imagination. It's more difficult for you and I to claim in our lives because, of course, we become too matter-of-fact. We become too practical. Why, we hear stories like the gospel today, and we just simply take them for face value. After all, we're practical people. But whatever happened to imagination? It's the struggle that we have with growing up. It's also the struggle that we simply have with Scripture. Scripture usually just gives us the facts, kind of the basic kind of things. It leaves out that sense of imagination, like a fifth grader once told me, you know, Father Steve, when it comes to the Bible, they leave out too much of the good stuff. And I would agree with the fifth grader. Why, the older we get, the more grown up we become. We lose our imagination. So on this, the fourth Sunday of Advent, I invite you to join with me to go down a path that invites you and I to imagine. Imagine what it was like for Joseph to tell his son, Jesus, what it was like on that night when he first found out about Mary having conceived Jesus, and the thought that he was going to divorce her. And how Joseph would then tell Jesus about this angel that came to him in a dream. Imagine how that conversation might take place. Well, I imagine Joseph with the child Jesus in the carpentry shed, there where Joseph makes his living, where he provides for Jesus and his mother Mary. And I envision the two of them there at the table where there is the hammer and the saw and the tape measure. And there I imagine Joseph telling Jesus the following. Jesus, remember, no matter what it is that we make, while we make it, we shall also create a home for spirits. Now your mother Mary, she thinks a home for spirit looks like an empty cup. But I prefer a different image. I prefer the image of a large room with a large window for the sun and a door that's hard to find. Remember, Jesus, in order to create this room with a large window for the sun and a door that's hard to find, you got to clear a space. And in order to clear a space, I've learned, Jesus, the best way to clear a space is to shut your mind down from judgment. To still the mind from judging others. Jesus, let me tell you about an evening, a night that happened once not so long ago. When I first found out that you were to be brought into the world by your mother Mary, and that I was to be the one who would help to raise you. It was on that night that I was tempted. I was so tempted to judge and to dismiss. But there was something in me that told me to wait, to hold back. And so wait I did. And in the waiting, I discovered a deeper door. You know, Jesus, the door that I told you about, the door that's hard to find in that home called spirit. Well, Jesus, I went through the door. And in going through the door, I discovered a room filled with the sun. And you and your mother were in there. And along with you and your mother, there was this presence of light like an angel this presence of light like an angel spoke to all of my fears and all of my worries. And why, that spirit of light spoke to those fears. And in an instant, I sensed for the first time the divisions that were in my heart, why they were erased. All that was separateness was now somehow connected. And there I realized, Jesus, that it was a dream, but in the dream, I was not asleep. No, the dream awakened within me. And it took the beam out of my eye. And it helped me to realize that in creating a home for spirit, it's a lifetime adventure. Jesus, in the business that is mine in carpentry, we are taught to measure twice and cut once. So in that spirit, Jesus, I invite you to see twice. Always see twice. The first time with the physical eye, the second time, see with the eye of the heart. And there you will discover beauty and loveliness. Because Jesus, when you look for the first time with your physical eye, well, no doubt you will see a chunk of wood, a wood that looks, well, it looks unusable, it looks worthless, and you might be tempted to throw it away. But Jesus, why, don't be fooled by outward appearances. No, I invite you, Jesus, to look deeper into the chunk of wood. And in looking deeper with the eye of the heart, you will begin to discover that there is the arm of a chair that you never thought possible in this piece of wood. And yet there it is. Jesus, anytime you see loveliness, you need to embrace it. Take it into your home. Do not hesitate. Do not ask any questions. Simply take loveliness into your home. Argue everything, Jesus, but always be obedient to love. And the boy listens. As we gather on this fourth Sunday of Advent, starting this weekend, families gather. We will gather this weekend. We will gather next weekend. We will gather with family and friends. We will gather to celebrate Christmas. But in the gathering, my friends, you and I must create a home for spirit. All that we do, all that we bake, all that we prepare, all that we wrap, let us always be mindful that in doing that, we must always also be creating a home for spirit. And in order for that to happen, you and I, like a good carpenter, we must see twice. First with the physical eye, but let us not be fooled by outward appearances. No, let us learn the wisdom of Joseph to his son Jesus. Let us look deeper. Let the dream awaken us so that the beam might be removed from our eyes and we might see, in looking deeper, something more beautiful, something more amazing, something more lovely. And when we see it, let us embrace it. Let us take it into our homes. Do not hesitate. Let us never question. So yes, as we gather with family and friends, go ahead, argue about everything. But always, let us always be obedient to love.